Welcome to this talk where I'm going to be discussing ChondroFocus, one of the products in this focus range by VetsBrands. My name is Izak Venter, veterinarian for 30 years plus, and specialized in veterinary ophthalmology and actively involved with the development of this range of nutraceuticals or therapeuticals. Do you have a dog suffering from one of these conditions or one of these breeds? Think about things like early onset intervertebral disc disease or IVDD, clinical IVDD, dogs that had IVDD treatment, and then Dachshunds, as well as these long and low dogs. So we're thinking about your chondrodystrophic breeds, in other words, things like your Bassets. All of these dogs are more prone to develop intervertebral disc disease. Another indication for ChondroFocus would be a dog with arthritis, but with additional intervertebral disc disease. And I'm going to point that out in the next slide or two, but very important not to use your normal anti-arthritic type of products in dogs that are either Dachshunds or chondrodystrophic dogs or dogs that does have intervertebral disc disease. So ChondroFocus specifically indicated for the protection of this intervertebral disc. So if we think about the intervertebral disc, so this is this little space between individual vertebrae. It consists of a couple of different portions, but I'm just going to briefly talk about that. So in the middle of this intervertebral disc, we've got something called the nucleus pulposus. And what happens in intervertebral disc disease is that this structure becomes dehydrated and the whole disc space becomes narrowed and becomes compromised. And you may get tears in this intervertebral disc. The disc may start calcifying, and this whole space between the two vertebrae becomes narrower and narrower. And eventually what can happen is that some of this disc material may actually prolapse out of the space between the two vertebrae, and it starts pushing on the spinal cord, damaging the spinal cord. And that is firstly extremely painful, and it can lead to paralysis. So a lot of these dogs do become paraplegic due to intervertebral disc disease, depending where in the spinal cord the disc has prolapsed. It's an extremely common problem in dogs, and if you think about Dachshunds, about 19 to 24% of Dachshunds will develop intervertebral disc disease at some stage in their lives. And then the other group of dogs that is really predisposed are these chondrodystrophic breeds, so your long and low dogs, your Bassets. And the other interesting thing, and this is reasonably new information, is that dogs supplemented with glucosamine and chondroitin. Now, glucosamine and chondroitin very common to use in arthritic products. Dogs supplemented with this are at a higher risk of developing intervertebral disc disease. And that's why we say that for these chondrodystrophic breeds, we should not use products that contains glucosamine or chondroitin if they have arthritis. So if you think about glucosamine chondroitin, extremely common ingredient in most of your joint supplements. And it is great. It really is excellent for joint cartilage, suppresses the breakdown of cartilage. But as far as the intervertebral disc is concerned, it can actually lead to a breakdown of the cartilage. So it's got the opposite effect in the intervertebral disc that it has in the other joints. And that's why we say that glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate is contraindicated for patients with intervertebral disc disease. So if you look at the ChondroFocus, the active ingredients, as you'll see, we do not include any of those substances, but what we do have is high levels of resveratrol with ASUs in here, MSM, and then again some antioxidants. One of the important inclusions in ChondroFocus is resveratrol. Resveratrol is a very potent antioxidant. It inhibits inflammatory mediators, and it also have a potential pain relief for these patients, and it just slows down the degeneration of this intervertebral disc. Then ASUs, one of the main effects that they do is they decrease the amount of certain enzymes in the intervertebral disc, especially things called MMP13s or matrix metalloproteinases. So what these enzymes do is they break down cartilage, and by breaking down cartilage, we are predisposing this dog to intervertebral disc disease. Your ASUs also have a pain-killing effect. Then we've included sodium ascorbate as well as MSM. Again, antioxidant effects as well as anti-inflammatory effects. Again, just giving us protection of the intervertebral disc and just supporting the normal healthy cartilage surrounding the intervertebral disc. So when do we start using ChondroFocus? This is a product that I would recommend starting from as young as 3 months for the rest of their lives, if we want to use it as a preventative product. So for Dachshunds, for your Bassets, it's a good idea to start these dogs prophylactically or preventatively on a product like ChondroFocus. Or for animals that has clinical intervertebral disc disease, we would then use ChondroFocus as long as it is clinically indicated. ChondroFocus, unlike most of our other focus range products, is available as a tablet and not as a powder, and we get it in a small dog and a large dog preparations. The small dog preparation is 1 tablet per 5 kilograms, and then the large dog product is available as a 1 tablet per 20 kilogram body weight. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at info@vetsbrands.co.za.